Hi guys, thank you to Harry for inviting us onto the channel once again, as always, and this should be a really good game. Of course, if you don't know who I am, I'm Col from 100% Mags. I've been doing YouTube for over 8 years now, and of course I am a Newcastle United fan, have been for all of my life since I was born in 1990. So I've been supporting Newcastle for 35 years, and I've got to say I am really looking forward to this game, of course, against Spurs coming up in the League Cup. I've got to say it's going to be an interesting one as we take you guys on Wednesday night at St James's Park. So again, another home ground advantage as we go into this one. And if you want to check out my content, of course, on my channel, that is, of course, 100PCT Mags on YouTube. You have to search for to get my content, but I'm sure Harry will put that link to my content down in the comments and description below. So let's get into talking about it. Of course, the season so far from us Newcastle United fans' perspective on what I think of this season, questions that have been given to us by Harry here, and of course I'm going to go through and answer my honest opinions on them. So far, my thoughts on the season: is it better, is it similar, or is it worse? I've got to say we're doing really well in Europe. We're putting in a really good shift in Europe. The league, however, is not what I thought it would be. We are doing really well when we're going forward. We're just not finding that finishing touch just yet in the final third at the moment, like we are in Europe. So if we can find that finishing touch in the Premier League, then I think things will start to pick up a lot more. But at the moment, I am a lot more happier with the way we've been playing in Europe than we have been in the Premier League. At the moment, we've been, a little lackluster in the Premier League. We haven't quite had that finishing touch that we've got in the Champions League at the moment. But like I say, if we can get that, then things will start to pick up forward. We have seen in recent games, we are starting to get that little bit of that finishing touch, what we're seeing in the European games, of course, in the Champions League campaign as well. But for me, it's pretty good so far the season, and we're only early doors, of course, 9 games in the Premier League, only into, I think it's our 3rd game in the Champions League, 4th game coming up, of course, and when we take on, I believe it's Atletico Bilbao next in the Champions League for us, so that'll be an interesting one, our Spanish brothers from La Liga. And my thoughts going into this game against, of course, Spurs on Wednesday night at St James's Park, League Cup. We've been here last season, of course, right the way through to the final. We won it last season, of course, against Liverpool down at Wembley, and what a game it was. What a amazing atmosphere it was as well. Obviously, I didn't go to the game, but I did watch it on TV. But I was at, of course, the ground and the town for the trophy parade. You will have seen the video surely up on my channel for that one. And I've got to say, hopefully we can go all the way again this season. Hopefully we can come out on top again this season and win the League Cup once again. Defend the League Cup, as we are going into this as the reigning champions of the League Cup. And I've got to say, looking at the way, Spurs has played so far this season, just watching their last match, of course, just gone, I thought, they look a little bit lackluster. I'm not really impressed, to be honest, with the way Thomas Frank has approached things at Spurs. I thought he would have done a lot better than what he has, to be honest, looking at, the way he managed Brentford when he was there and what he was doing with Brentford. I don't think he's quite hit the ground running yet at Spurs, but maybe things will pick up for you guys. Hopefully not on Wednesday night, of course, but maybe things will start picking up for you guys. And you will start seeing, that Thomas Frank that everybody got to see at Brentford. But, of course, for me, he just hasn't seemed to hit the ground running at the moment. And I think, it's going to be a challenging game for Spurs going into this one on Wednesday night. Obviously, it's going to be a difficult game for ourselves as well, but I think we'll have enough in the tank, to come away from this game with something. Of course, you predicted lineup. I don't see Eddie Howe changing too much, to be honest. With the lineups that we've seen of late, I think we've got a pretty solid back line right there. We've got a pretty solid midfield trio as well. Obviously, Sandro Tonali's been ill of late. We've seen him come on as a substitute in the game just gone against Fulham for a little bit, and hopefully, we'll get to see a little bit more of him in this game on Wednesday night against Spurs. But I mean, I don't see we're changing that back line too much. Mali Chow and Sven Botman, I thought, have done really well since Mali has broke into, of course, the squad. And it's been a little bit of a difficult one for Fabian Shaw to get back into their position. And Dan Burn, of course, has been playing out at left back because, we don't have the likes of Lewis Hall to play at left back. He is fit, but he's, slowly coming back into the side. Eddie taking his time with him to bring him back into the team. And then on the right back position, we see, Trippier playing a lot now, because Tino Livramento was in a similar situation to what Lewis Hall was in, trying to get back to full fitness, trying to get himself ready to be straight back in the side again. But I think it'll be a little while before we see, eventually at some point, Tino Livramento playing at right back and Lewis Hall playing at the left back position in the team. And then, of course, I would expect, down the line at some point to see Mali Chow and Sven Botman obviously partnering up with Tino and Halsey as well. I don't see Nicky Pope, being dislodged at the moment from that number one spot, especially after that game against Benfica. I thought he did really, really well in that game. That assist as well was absolutely out of this world. Nobody expected that. Not even Nick Pope expected that to come off, I don't think, to be honest. But it was nice to see, him getting on the assist board for it as well. And that is got to be huge for his confidence going forward. I maybe see we're possibly going with Ramsdale in goal here, but I think, Eddie's probably going to go with Nicky in there once again, because of the fact that it is Tottenham, it is at St James's Park, and we do want to take this cup very seriously, with us being, of course, the defending champions of it as well. Harry asked us who can hurt Spurs from Newcastle United. Well, that's pretty simple. You just have to look at the likes of Bruno, look at the likes of Gordon. Gordon's firing on all cylinders right now. He's having an absolutely amazing season. He's banging in goals in Europe. He's banging in goals in the Premier League as well. He's doing brilliant with assists in the Premier League. And I think that's a player that, Spurs are going to have to watch out for in this game coming up. Of course, on Wednesday night, they are going to have to watch out for that pace and play from Anthony Gordon, flash down that wing. And of course, Bruno as well, because he's picking up them passes. He's pinging in the balls right, left and centre like Bruno does, and he even got himself on the score sheet as well against Fulham for his 115th Premier League appearance for Newcastle United as well, which was great to see. Bruno getting on the score sheet and talking about how much that meant to him to get on that score sheet as well on such a big milestone of 150 games. He didn't think he was going to make it that far forward, of course, but them are two players that I think Spurs fans will, want to be keeping an eye on going into this game. And if I could take just one Spurs player out of for Newcastle right now, and who would it be? The Spurs player, I don't see anyone, being honest here, from the Spurs lineup, from the entirety of Spurs squad. I don't see one player that would be able to break really into the starting 11 at Newcastle right now. Maybe somebody is a backup, but that would probably be about it. And to be honest, I don't see anybody out of the Spurs team really getting into that starting 11 for us right now. If I had to choose somebody, I'd probably choose maybe Harry Simons, but that would purely be, you know, just as maybe a little bit of added depth in there. But other than that, I don't really see any Spurs players getting into the starting 11 in Newcastle United. I mean, you wouldn't switch any of Tottenham's midfield for the starting midfield for us of Big Joe, Bruno and Sandro Tonali. I mean, that trio is one of the best in the world, if not the best in the world in midfield. And then looking at with centre backs, you know, I don't see Christian Romero or Mickey van der Ven dislodging, you know, Mali Chow or Sven Botman from starting positions for Newcastle. So other than that, you know, like I say, probably Harry Simons, just purely for to put his added depth to the squad. Maybe in Spurs players that I fear the most. Like I've said many times before, I don't really fear any players, but if there was one player that I would maybe be keeping a close eye on, it would be Kudus in this game, especially with Dan Burn playing at that left back position. That pace from Kudus could be a little bit of a worry there, but we have seen Big Dan deal with pacey players before and doing quite well when, you know, called upon to do so. But again, just keeping a close eye maybe on Kudus with that pace down that right flank, of course, with Dan Burn playing on that left back position. A predicted score and scores for the game. I'd probably go Anthony Gordon. He's going for fun of late. I'd say Anthony Gordon maybe he's getting on the score sheet once again. I wouldn't be surprised to see maybe Nick Voldemar get on the score sheet as well. And maybe, you know, coming off the bench, Will Osula. He did really well in that game, just gone against Fulham, coming off the bench and, of course, getting the shot off, which allowed Bruno to score his goal off of the deflection of Bert Leno. The score, I would go for happily go for a 1-0 win and see ourselves go through at the cup, but to maybe make it a little bit more entertaining, I'd probably see Newcastle come away from the game 2-1 winners against Spurs, with Anthony Gordon getting on the score sheet, Nick Voldemar getting on the score sheet as well. And who will win the Carabao Cup? Well, you heard what my thoughts were. I'd like to see us go all the way. If it's not us, then I'd like to see, you know, somebody that hasn't won it before going on to win it. That would be nice. Off the top of my head right now, I can't think of any teams that I would want to win it other than ourselves. But for me, you know, it would mainly be Newcastle going all the way once again to win the Carabao Cup. I want to see we defend that cup once again in Wembley. You know, want to see we go all the way and get another trophy added to the cabinet. But anyway, thank you to Harry for allowing us to come on the channel once again, of course, and give my thoughts heading into the game. I think it's going to be an interesting game. It's going to be a tight game, but I think, you know, hopefully Eddie and the lads will have enough in the tank after the midweek game against Benfica, then that game against Fulham on the weekend there, to be able to go all the way in this game and, you know, see us get the win, go through to the next round of the cup, because we want to try and take this seriously. Eddie said that himself, you know, he wants to take all of the cups seriously. Champions League, he wants to take the league seriously, he wants to take the FA Cup and the League Cup, especially the League Cup seriously, with us being the defending champions of it. But like I say, thank you to Harry for allowing us to come on at the channel, giving me thoughts heading into this game, and hopefully you have all enjoyed the video. If you have, hit a like, share, subscribe to Harry's channel, my channel of course as well, if you want to see the path and the journey of Newcastle United under the Saudi owners and the Rubens, of course. And I'll see you all in the next one. However, lads.